It's pasta vazul, baby.
Come on in.
Well, hello, Screamers! Welcome to Scream Till You Like It podcast. I am Clint Monty, which, of course, is a reference to the movie we're talking about today. With me, as always, is Marion Mikey, a.k.a. Evil Mike. I'm going to say, I missed my other line. I hope you're still screaming. I hope you're starting to like it. So, how's it going, Mike?
I'm good. I apologize in advance because I've been sick. And if I sound like I'm underwater, that's why.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was sick too. 2023 ended
Everybody was sick.
A poor fashion for me. Holy crap, man. I've been sick for a month. I still have a cough. Sounds like you're on the tail end of it. So hopefully yours will be gone soon. But here we are. First episode of 2024. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. The show must go on. I'm just going to say today we are going to talk about a movie from 1986. Good old Cobra with the one and only Sylvester Stallone. I don't know what to even say about this one. This feels like a network's response to, I don't know, like the Dirty Harry Callahan movies or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like somebody saw those movies and said, we need something like that. Let's can we get another actor? Can we write a character similar to that? Can we get a story where he's just like a tough guy, spouting off a bunch of nonsense, and in the end he single-handedly takes care of the bad guys. I feel like that's where we are with this. But I can tell you that I was not really exposed to this when it first came out. I think I saw it one time in the mid-90s. So it'd probably been out about 10 years by the time I saw it. And I remember falling asleep during it. So I didn't even really see it. But your experience with this is different. What's your experience like?
I'm trying to remember if I saw this. I might have saw this in the theater. Yeah. And I loved it like I said, when you're watching it as a 14, 15-year-old, it's a great movie. Tough guy. The lines are great. When you're watching it now, that's why I told you, I'm kind of torn with this movie because as ridiculous as it is, I still have that 15-year-old saying this is the coolest shit. Because, like I said, I explained it. It's like Sylvester Stallone was trying to do Sylvester Stallone in this movie. It's just, they said, let's make a macho cop movie. And they tried so hard. There's just line after line after cliched line. But it's great.
He was almost a parody of himself in this movie. Yes. I could see that. So there's a lot of nostalgia points here for this one with you.
Oh, big time. I remember when I was a kid, after seeing it in the theater, I went and bought, never forget, Sam Goody, if you remember that store. Not around anymore. I went and bought the vinyl record too.
Oh, really?
That's how much
you got the soundtrack. You're at home.
That's how much I liked this movie back then.
That.
It had a lot going back then.
Yeah.
Bridget Nielsen was still a woman back then, and
she looked very different at this time. That's for sure.
Oh man.
So I'm not gonna say too much on the soundtrack because I know you like it, but I will be breaking it up as we go. Because
it's your basic cheesy 80s And I think the same guy that did the songs for Rocky IV did a bunch of these songs also. I forgot his name.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna say I feel like some of the songs didn't really fit the movie. But like they just felt out of place. Like they were super upbeat, you know, a lot of them in comparison to what was happening on screen. I was like, why are we watching? What is happening right now?
You're 100% right.
At one point, we even had like some Miami Sound Machine stuff going on here, and I'm like, where are we right now?
When we watched it, I mentioned that you get like a Miami vibe, like almost like a Miami, like where he's living. You don't get in like a LA vibe,
right?
From the music and it's weird.
Yeah. Well, I appreciated the fact that they were trying to make at least that part a little bit realistic. I mean, there is a strong, you know, like Spanish presence there.
Yes.
But yeah, it's like throwing in Miami Sound Machine gave me a really different vibe there and made me feel like it wasn't Los Angeles.
Yes, even to the Latino street gang outside his house, and like it didn't scream LA at all. It screamed.
I don't know, man. I guess we just jump right into it.
Sure.
This had one of those kind of like cliche cop intros. You know what I mean? Where like they show a close up of his gun with the custom Cobra pistol grips on it, you know, and he slowly grabs it with his gloved hand and picks it up and turns it to the camera, you know, just to have like a shot sound go off, you know what I mean, for effect. I mean, they did that in one of the Dirty Harry movies.
Yes. And gives you even like the statistics. There's a rape and there's a murder every 10 seconds.
Oh, I wrote those down. There's a burglary every 11 seconds. Armed robberies every 65 seconds. Violent crime every 25 seconds. Murder every 24 minutes. 250 rapes a day. Is how he starts this thing before he shoots the camera with his gun. So, yeah. And then we immediately cut to the cult.
It's like a gothic like river dance with axes and I was like, what is going on here?
Exactly. They're down in whatever, like it almost felt like it was underground, but it was probably like a warehouse or something. And they shoot from above and they show these people with these axes and they're like just clicking them together. Click, 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 click. You know, like
for people that are supposed to be like wild, like maniac killers, they're pretty damn. There was a lot of choreography going on there. That looked like pretty in sync.
Yeah, and almost it almost took on like a religious cult feel. And
Yes.
I was like, well, what are they worshiping here? Because I saw nothing about that. You know, it was just a bunch of people who like to kill, who got together. You know what I mean? And they clicked their axes together, and then next thing you know, they're out hitting the street, you know, murdering people for no reason. So this is like. This story felt like unprovoked crimes, you know, just crime for the sake of crime.
Yeah. Well, they were. I think at one point they said that they were trying to weave out the weak.
Yeah.
To make supreme people like the survivors.
That's right.
I'm
Get the poison out. All right.
Yeah.
You know, one of them. All right. They give us after this, we just cut to like a grocery store. That's like our opening scene. And I mean, was I alone in feeling like the grocery store thing was kind of out of place? It's like, why pick a grocery store?
It was done just to set him up and introduce him.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah. I mean, and it was so. I mean, if there was a hostage situation, he just walks right in. It's like there's no like even. There was so much wrong with this scene.
Yeah. It's that was one of my big things. So it's like. He was able to just walk right in. It's like anybody who takes people hostage, you know, they're not going to go to a room in the back of the building and leave the entire front just open and unattended. Yeah. You're going to want to see people coming. You're going to want to be able to stop them before they come in the door. You know, he just sneaks right in. He's like slinking down the aisles of the grocery store.
Drinking beer while he's sampling his cores.
Yeah.
And they squeeze like as many tough guy cop lines into the scene as they could. it was like one more ridiculous than the other.
Like, I almost feel like this movie should have been shot as a comedy. You know what I mean?
It is.
Like,
It's comical to a point.
if they would have marketed this as a comedy and like made like actual jokes and like slapstick humor in this, I would have laughed my ass off at this and thought it was amazing. But instead we get, a Hispanic guy for no freaking reason whatsoever, taking a shotgun into a grocery store. And we find out he just fucking hates produce. He just starts shooting watermelons and like, different vegetables, shopping carts. You know what I mean? People start running out of the store, and evidently he takes hostages. You get the police outside, and you get our guy Andrew Robinson, who did the Dirty Harry movie. He actually played Scorpio, the killer, in that one.
Mm-hmm.
He was in this as Detective Monty.
Yes,
and he's out there on his megaphone, being like, we just want to talk to you, no one's gonna hurt you, blah blah blah, all that stuff, because he's the straight cop, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's the guy who does it by the book, and they wanted to illustrate that as early as possible, and Art LaFleur, who's in 4,700 freaking bit parts in movies, going back to God knows when. He's in this as Captain Sears, and he just makes the call right there.
He's everywhere. Like, he's the king of the bit parts.
Yeah, and he's awesome. He's good every time I see him, and every time I see him, I'm like, oh fuck, there he is again. But he's like, call the Cobra, and
Cobra.
And for some reason, the detective has to answer to him, and he just walks away and he goes and he does it. Cobra shows up in his awesome 50, shows up in his chop top classic car that has a license plate on the front that actually says awesome 50, steps out, and the Detective Monty's like, I didn't want to call you, just want to make sure you knew that.
The back and forth for the whole movie is just,
it's ridiculous. They clearly don't like each other. And they have two very different approaches to police work, and of course that's one of the writing things that they always put in. There's got to be two people who don't agree, in order to create enough turmoil to get your blood pumping through these things. So jumping back to where we were, he's sneaking through the store, and
the guy does kill somebody.
Oh yeah, he did shoot a guy in the back. That's right.
What a dick. He was like, okay, you're free to go. Get out of here. And then he just shoots the guy in the back. I was like, what a dick move.
Yeah, exactly.
You could have shot him. You made him.
Yeah. And I think that's probably what caused them to make the call to call in Cobra. And they do explain at some point that he's part of the zombie squad.
Zombie squad.
Yeah. And somehow they explain that it's kind of like their SWAT team, like their special elite group that comes in to do all the dirty jobs that, need a special touch. You know what I mean?
That nobody else wants.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he comes in, and I almost feel like the grocery store scene was put here for product placement. Maybe they got a bunch of sponsors for this movie. Because they really showed a lot of Pepsi products.
Pepsi
in the grocery store. Like I said,
Coors.
He cracked open the Coors Extra Gold right there. Took a drink out of it. He took his freaking matchstick out of his mouth so he could take one sip out of the can.
Out of a piss warm Coors.
Yeah, and then he tossed it. I had to toss it too, and I probably wouldn't even taken the drink.
Yeah, exactly.
But dude starts taking shots at him. It's like, I wasn't even sure why he did that. Draw his fire one direction maybe so that he could run around and then sneak in somewhere else.
We get that stupid. Hey, dirtbag, you're a lousy shot. I hate lousy shots. I'm like, what the hell? Who does like lousy? What kind of stupid line is that?
Yeah. He's like, you wasted a kid for nothing. Yeah. Yeah, all this on the intercom, which I think he was like in the meat department or something. Yeah. He goes, no, I think it's time to waste you.
That
it's just this whole scene was kind of laughable. And then like, he sneaks around and like he pulls his gun and he busts through the door, and I'm like, he has no cover, he has no protection whatsoever.
No, nothing. This guy's got guns on hostages, and you just burst out.
Yeah, if he was standing there with the shotgun like trained at that door, as soon as he burst through, the guy could have shot him, and like that would have been the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But instead, he's got it pointed at, a hostage, and now we find out the guy's got a bomb, that we didn't know about before. I got a bomb. I'll kill her. I'll kill everybody.
I'll blow this place up. Go ahead. I don't shop here.
Yeah. So yeah, the one-liners in this, some of them landed, some of them didn't. But this, in my opinion, this movie was suffering from dumb dialogue already.
Oh, he goes, you want to talk? I'm a sucker. Go ahead. I'm a sucker for good conversation. I was like, but it's like one after another. It's like they were hitting me with so much. I was like, I couldn't take it. I was like,
yeah. But half a minute ago, he told him over the intercom it was time to waste him. So he's like, oh, well, let's talk now. I'm like, this is contradictory. I'm getting mixed messages here, Cobra. What's happening? So
I don't talk with psychos. I just put them away.
That's right.
They just kept spilling out one after another.
That's right. But he put his gun away back into his
and then
belt.
Yeah.
And this guy could have turned in that very moment and shot him with the shotgun.
And shot him.
And he didn't do that. And he waited for the guy to swing his gun, as he like prepared a folding knife by his side and like whips it into his like abdomen. And I'm like, what? And then and here's the thing that blew my mind. This was the dumbest thing of all. He just threw a knife into the guy's guts. And then he pulls his gun up and he goes, drop it. And I'm like, you just stabbed him. He's not dropping shit. He just wheeled the gun around and like he shoots him like 4 fucking times and the guy falls into the like meat case or something. And I was like, this is just so crazy and over the top right now.
We forgot the best line in the movie.
Oh yeah?
He's like, I'm no psycho. I'm the hero. I'm a hero of the free world. He goes, what does he say I've written?
He said, you're a disease.
You're a disease. I'm the cure.
I'm the cure. I mean, that, for me, that's the whole movie right there.
Right.
I mean, that's that should have been the trailer. But
you see, 15-year-old me was eating all this shit up.
I bet.
Like, this is awesome.
Yeah. So this is the point where they want to establish just how much macho bullshit's in this movie.
Yeah.
Cobra walks outside. Immediately he's got like reporters in his face, wanting to know if he used excessive force, and he's just telling them shit like, I gave it everything I had. And like he didn't deny it. He's like, yep, basically. And I guess the detective's trying to like keep him away from the reporters or something like that. He's saying stuff to him. His partner's saying stuff to him, and this guy's like, this reporter's like, well, people have rights, and you get the impression that, despite the fact that this guy was, either on drugs,
maybe you didn't have to kill him,
just psychotic, that he still had rights, as a human being, and a citizen, and he just loses his shit, grabs a hold of the guy, and whips back the sheet on a dead body. He's like, you tell that to his family,
right?
You know what I mean? So we get all that macho horse shit there, after we just pushed a police brutality narrative. So we know everything we need to know about Cobra's character at at this point. He he clearly doesn't like rules, and he's willing to meet the criminals on their level, and and essentially look for an excuse to take them out.
Yeah.
Even though he says he puts them away, we find out through this that for the most part he doesn't arrest anybody ever.
Right.
He goes home. He can't get into his parking space. There's some Hispanic guys in a car that are parked there. He goes up and blows his horn in his awesome 50, which sounds like, I don't know, like a train horn or something.
Yeah.
It's fucking loud ass horn. They mouth some shit at him, and he's like, well, doing it anyway. So he just like puts his bumper against theirs, pushes their car out of the way, and then he like finishes like parallel parking. Dude gets out all upset, slaps the fender of his car, he's like, what's your problem, man?
He rips the guy's shirt down.
Yeah. He like yanks a cigarette out of his mouth, tells him, that he's, he says that's bad for your health. He's like, what? And he grabs a cigarette and he's like, me. And he like throws it down. And so the guy like kind of like shrinks away a little bit, and he's like, clean up your act. And he like rips his shirt off, And did you catch that it looked like there was a piece of tape and like a wire under that? Like he was an undercover or something like that?
No, I didn't. I got to go back and watch this.
Yeah, like you see it when he turns away. So, but I'm wondering, oh, you know what? It probably was. It was probably a body mic because they were outside.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. So like they weren't expecting it to show on camera.
That was just like bad editing.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sitting here trying to figure out, is he an undercover cop? It's like, no, it's probably just the fucking body mic for the scene. But so yeah, editing mistake. And I don't know if this next bit was supposed to be funny or not, but he did some weird shit when he got to his apartment. Like he was walking with his newspaper, reading that, and he walks past his like charcoal grill, and he just like opens it up and drops his newspaper inside and closes it. I don't know if he's going to use it for like, fire starter later or something,
Maybe.
or that's just where he keeps his newspapers. I don't fucking know.
That was weird.
And then beyond that, he goes inside and pulls two things out of his freezer. One's a pizza box, the other one's an egg carton. I'm like, who keeps eggs in their fucking freezer? And he walks back to his like little desk area that's got a computer on it and what looks like an old dot matrix printer, because it is 1986.
Yeah.
So he opens up the pizza box and like cuts a little triangle off of it with a pair of scissors, turns on his TV, and he opens up the egg carton, and it's a gun cleaning kit. I'm like, I don't even understand why that needed to be in the freezer. But
100%. And if that pizza was in the freezer, he wouldn't be able to cut it with scissors and eat it.
Yeah.
It would be like a fucking brick.
I feel like it was just a prop. It probably wasn't even plugged in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's like, oh, this needs to be in the fridge somewhere. And they put it in the top part, like maybe the freezer section, But like,
I mean, was the pizza that big that you had to cut it with scissors to like little baby pieces?
Yeah, maybe he doesn't like the crust. He was cutting the crust off. I don't.
and the fact that he doesn't take his gloves off when he's eating the pizza, that bothered me too.
Yeah,
like
he left the gloves on with
You're
the
cool
pizza.
And you got your black leather gloves, but nobody else. You're home by yourself. Take them off and eat the pizza like a normal person.
Yeah. Take the gloves off. Wash your hands. No, he left them on the whole time, and he's touching food. He's touching his gun. He's touching everything. He touched his car when he's driving. And he's in there, and he's still wearing his damn gloves, eating and cleaning his gun. He's
cleaning his gun and eating pizza.
Yeah,
that's just the new pizza seasoning. Hops number 9.
Yeah, exactly. You could use that as a dipping sauce. So yeah, I don't know what was happening there. That seemed like a lot of really odd scene choices for me.
Yes.
But of course he's watching a news broadcast. It's all about the night slasher, which they seem to know an awful lot about the night slasher except for who he is, and he's just going out and killing random people. And and of course they say like horrific things like sneaking in through a bedroom window and like doing like killing a child, things like that. I was like, geez, they really want to play up how bad this guy is.
Yeah.
And of course, immediately they cut to a scene where he actually attacks somebody. So there's this poor waitress who's closing up a diner, and she thinks something's off, and she hurries to her car. But of course, her car gets attacked, and it's a convertible, so they just cut through the top, and you got these guys with pantyhose on their heads, and I couldn't quite figure out why, because clearly no one was around. This almost seemed like a dead street area with like no street lights. Nobody was around, and this poor random person just walking to their car. It's almost like they didn't need that. Brian Thompson's up close, you know what I mean, and he like knifes somebody. So he killed her with his knife, and he's got this badass knife that's like I don't know, like a reverse curve, and it's got like
this.
Yeah, just like that. Oh man, nothing.
This is an exact replica.
Nothing better than a visual aid.
This is from the movie. Actually, from the movie. Actually, my friend who's a cop confiscated for somebody and knows I'm a knife freak, and he gave it to me. But from the movie, and I gotta tell you, the most uncomfortable, unpractical knife you will ever know. You'll probably do more damage to yourself than.
I believe it. I believe it.
But how cool is that?
That's pretty funny.
And they're sharp too.
Oh yeah, those spikes. They look
sharp,
vicious.
As fuck. Like I said, after this, it goes right back in the drawer because I'll never.
That's right. You'll never actually use it for anything.
No.
But yeah, it looks like a skinning knife, just bigger.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way he uses it. I think we get one of those police station scenes. It seemed like in between everything that happened in this movie, there was like a police station meeting with, like Cobra and, the detective and the captain.
He's kind of telling the captain how he wants to, be part of everything.
Right.
He's like, oh, I just want to get involved, Like,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He has his own theories on the Night Slasher and of course Monty doesn't want him involved and
yeah. And he makes this comment that as long as we got to play by the rules and the criminals don't, we're going to lose.
Exactly.
So he really doesn't like the fact that there's laws that apply to him and how he does his job, which is just more of that, the macho bullshit that they wrote his character to be. So of course we wouldn't want the movie to get slow, so we have another attack. These Night Stalker cult people, like in a van, they bump some woman's car, and of course she stops because, oh fuck, somebody hit me. So the chick who's with the cult, gets out and walks up, and she's like, God, how did you hit me? You've been drinking? And she just looks down at her and she goes, yeah. And then like somebody, like, she hears like a tap, looks over, and it's the dude with an axe, like tapping her window. She starts freaking out. They open up the door, they grab her, they kill her. So it's like, but they use this to introduce another character. We get Bridget Nielsen's character, who I don't think we know what she really does yet. But she's driving by like in a Jeep, and for some stupid ass reason, the Night Slasher dude just walks out from behind the van and like walks into the middle of the street and stares at her as she drives by, so she can get a really good look at his face. Because for some reason this time he's not wearing pantyhose on his head. And that was another inconsistency that I want to throw out, because like in a scene following that with her, for some fucking reason, even though she's already seen his face, he wears pantyhose on his head. So
criminals don't wear pantyhose enough anymore.
Yeah, I don't think they do either.
When I was a kid growing up, like every bad guy was a bank robber, or mugger. They always had pantyhose.
Yeah,
and like now it's like a thing of the past. It's like it was good to see pantyhose again.
Yeah, exactly. I got flashbacks to, Nicolas Cage and Raising Arizona.
Yeah.
But she gets a really good look at him, and of course the woman of the group, yells at him, "Get the license plate!" And I find myself sitting there wondering, it's like, well, what fucking good's a license plate gonna do these people? It's like,
Yeah.
unless they know somebody at the DMV, you know what I mean? How are they going to be able to do anything with that? Or unless they're going to drive around the street looking for this vehicle with this matching license plate. Turns out
she was a cop.
Turns out she's a cop.
And like we talked about Dirty Harry, I mentioned this too when we watched it. Didn't you get the same vibe from the chick in Sudden Impact? Remember the girl? There were the guys that raped the girl, and she was like the one chick in the group.
Right. I
thought like that mirrored her.
Yeah. Her character was a lot like that. No, you're right. Somehow she's one of those people that sees herself as one of the guys, but in some way smarter than them, because she's got herself into a position of authority over several of them. It was like that in this movie. That's the way it was in Sudden Impact, that she was almost the leader. So that's really the impression that I get. And they show her in the very next scene running a license plate. We get like the crime scene after that. So everybody's at the crime scene of this murder. There's a conversation there. You get this, after that, you get almost like this private, like, I don't know, Batman style meeting. You know what I mean? Where they're like, discussing the details and what to do about it, and because it's just them, near their cars, talking about what they're doing moving forward. Oh, just go do what you do, that type of thing. Like I got real strong Batman vibes here, where they're telling Cobra, hit the streets, do what you do, see what you can find out. And of course, you get the line from the detective Monty's like, try not to waste the wrong guy. But then again, what do you care? So every time they see each other, he has to take a dig at him, just showing that they don't like each other and that they disagree on how police work should be done.
Yes.
I feel like Cobra's sidekick, Gonzalez, played by Rennie Santoni, is kind of for comic relief.
Yeah.
I felt like he could have been written better. Like he was kind of like a weak supporting character. I mean, he was there and his presence was known, and I liked him. I felt we could have used more of him.
But he didn't offer much. Like,
oh yeah. They wrote him poorly. They just made him one of these like junk food junkie type people.
Yeah.
Like every time you saw him, he was like eating candy
that
or candy bar.
Was his thing.
They would try to have like this playful banter between him and Cobra, you know what I mean, where they just bust each other's balls. I think he said something about, oh, when this is all over, I'd like to take care of the detective by like punching a hole through his chest, and Cobra's like, what the problem is with you? You're too violent.
You're too violent.
He's like, me, And he's like, yeah, it's all that sugar you eat, Yeah, he's like, you should like eat some vegetables or some fish and rice or something like that. Yeah. And he's like muttering as he gets in his car, oh, fish and rice,
Yeah.
It's like that was kind of cute, you know what I mean? and I felt like it did give like some like human element to their characters.
Oh, definitely.
Felt like we didn't really get enough of that.
Yeah.
And then after that, we got what every movie from the 80s needed, and many of them had, an 80s montage. So they started playing some upbeat 80s music, and we got, cuts between two different things happening. We've got Cobra and Gonzalez, hitting the streets, talking to all these prostitutes and like trans prostitutes and going into like bars and places, trying to gather information. I think what they're really trying to show is that they're hitting like the seediest,
The seedy
dirtiest
side
areas.
of town.
Yeah, like the subculture of the city. You know what I mean? Trying to like get a lead on who this night slasher person is. And then we have cuts over to a model photo shoot with our chick who was in the previous scene. You know, Bridget Nielsen, plays the Ingrid character. You know, she's like taking all these like Marilyn Monroe, like white dress, blonde hair photo shoots, like with what looked like robots. I don't know what the hell was going on here.
And then she had like that silver wig on.
Yeah. So it's like, it was a very interesting look. And they were taking some photographs. Our photographer was none other than David Rash.
Sledgehammer himself.
Yeah. Sledgehammer was
that was great.
Yeah. And so we that was awesome. Little did we know at this time and with him in this movie that he would basically do his own over the top brutal, you know, cop that didn't believe in the rules on a TV show,
right? It was
a few years later. Which I absolutely loved that show when I was a kid.
Me too.
I need to go back and watch it again
because it's hysterical.
You know what it was really like? Not to take too much of a side note, but it was like Dirty Harry meets Police Squad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was like a slapstick version of Dirty Harry.
Because he was clearly doing, you know, a Dirty Harry Callahan impression, and they were throwing in a bunch of nonsensical comedy, kind of like Leslie Nielsen's Police Squad. And you got a pretty cool show out of it, if I'm being honest. Of course, I'd probably go back and watch it now and be like, oh, what the fuck? This show sucks. But I'm willing to take that chance and watch it again.
I went back and I watched like the first 2 episodes recently. And it still holds up. It holds up? Okay. It cracks up. It's just, you know, you got the captain who's hammer, you know, like he's always shooting his gun out. Stop shooting your gun inside. He's like,
oh man, he used his gun for everything. I think I remember one episode where he like walked into the station like carrying like a string of fish and they all had bullet holes in them.
Yeah.
And he just like hurls it onto his desk and he started talking about his day off, you know.
It's great.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Oh, and they had a little bit more in this 80s montage than just those two things. They also cut to the Night Stalker prepping for his next crime because he's sitting there in his white t-shirt with his bulging biceps, like sharpening that ridiculous Skinner knife that he's got. So,
and then what was with the hair?
The hair?
That came later when he's combing his hair.
Oh. Well, he dyed his hair.
But he had like grease in a hubcap.
I think that was hair dye because remember how it kept like dribbling down his forehead?
Yeah, but I was like, is that? I said to myself, is that actually hair dye? Or is it like grease from a car that he's just got in a hubcap and he's just rubbing it through his hair?
Oh, for all we know, it could have been motor oil. I mean, it was, yeah.
It was a very odd scene.
Yeah. And that happens after they try to attack her the first time because they tracked her down.
I jumped ahead because that's after they attack her.
Yeah.
When they go after her the second time.
That's right. Yeah, they tracked down the model based on the license plate, I guess, figured out her movements and somehow knew she was going to be there on that photo shoot. They try to attack her in the parking garage. The photographer, who the whole way from the elevator is trying to talk her into going to bed with him, he gets it first. So, like, they miss him the first time, they swing an axe at him, they get him the second time. Yeah. So he's done. She runs. Dude grabs her and like somehow swings the axe so high he hits a sprinkler pipe. and like doesn't get to kill her, and she slips away. Some other
Well, she
poor
runs
random
to the
guy.
elevator, and the doors open up, and there's a security guard with a gun who has to
Oh
be
yeah,
like the worst fucking shot I've ever seen.
yeah. He shot
I
at a
mean, like there were
cluster of
guys
4
right in
people.
front of him, and he shot and he didn't hit one. I was like,
Yeah, yeah. And then for some reason they make the decision to fire up the van and kill the security guard with the van. So they wreck him and crush him into the elevator.
yeah,
Um, um, yeah. Some other dude gets it that she tries to brush by. Just some random bystander dude going to his car with a bottle of champagne of all things. She hides, and the Night Stalker or Night Slasher. I keep calling him Night Stalker. That's something else. Night Slasher comes out with his pantyhose on this time. And for some reason, the eyes cut out. Guess it was too hard to see through the pantyhose, so he like ripped the eyes. And that's where I'm like, why did he bother with the pantyhose? She already knows what he looks like.
yeah, exactly.
And he's looking around for her, doesn't see her. I guess here's the sirens or whatever. They decide to leave, start up their van again. Like, I'm going to believe that piece of shit's going to run after wrecking it into like a brick wall with an elevator. But yeah, they get away. They're not even leaking anything. You know, you think the radiator would be going, psss, you know, but it's not doing that. You know, even though I call bullshit on that, they drive away. But so you get a hospital scene now because she is all shook up. She survived this, but basically witnessed 3 murders. And she's getting interviewed by Cobra and Gonzalez. And I don't know if they're really getting much out of her other than the fact that even though she didn't know who these people were, she gets the idea, or Cobra gets the idea that she was attacked by this Night Slasher dude.
We get that awesome sketch artist. Like, what the fuck did he draw? Like,
yeah,
that was so ridiculous. Like,
they did bring in the sketch artist. I feel like clearly he flunked sketch artist school.
It's like something like a kid would draw.
Yeah, the department really needed a sketch artist, so they took him anyway.
Oh
you know
my god!
He must have gotten like D's in
when he showed that picture. Like, I cracked up so hard. I was like, what?
Yeah, they drew like these really like bold lines where like the scarring on his face was.
Yeah,
you know? It's like,
oh,
she's
it was
like
horrible.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, that kind of looks like him.
That's him.
You know, yeah. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, they left her at the hospital, basically to rest. So this is the part you were talking about where you see the Night Slasher dude like picking something up
going to the hospital to get her.
Yeah,
so he's greasing up his hair and
And really all that seemed to do was dye his hair black, and he slicked it back, and he put on, a pair of glasses just to make himself look different. Although I really don't feel like he looked any different.
He looked like a psycho.
Yeah. He had on a janitor's outfit, and he's acting like he's going to the hospital to clean some shit, Some nurse was mean to him in the elevator.
Yeah.
Told him next time use the stairs, And they kind of gave you the impression that she got out of the elevator just in time because he was sitting there with his knife behind his back.
Hand, yeah.
Like he was getting ready to kill her or something for talking too much. I don't know. But I feel like the hospital scene was a little weird. He wasted a lot of time. Like he went into a room, it seems, and threw his mop in a bed with a patient and killed the patient. Waited for the nurse to walk in and then I guess killed her.
Yeah.
So he wasted time killing 2 other people before he even went after the person he was there to get.
And because the chick that was working with him, that was the cop, the bad one, she sent them both away. Because Cobra was out and Gonzalez was supposed to be watching her.
Okay.
And then he speaks to Gonzalez, and Gonzalez says, well, they called me and told me to come, that you were coming here, or something like, so they knew now she was there alone. So not only did he waste time, she was by herself. You had like a total fucking
she had no protection. Okay. So and that kind of comes out in the next scene, I think, So clearly the night slasher fucks up. She's in the bathroom when he shows up. He misses his opportunity to kill her in the bed. Tries to get into the bathroom where she's at. Somehow she's in the only bathroom in the hospital that's got a second door, and she gets out the other side of it and runs down the hallway and like pulls a fire alarm, and suddenly everybody's coming out of the rooms. This is around the time that Cobra shows up, because the thing I didn't mention, he was at his apartment. He goes to leave after, I guess, that phone call with his partner, and he gets attacked by some of the other cult people. And then after he wastes those two guys, he rushes over to the hospital. So he shows up about the time everything was already over, and like he grabs a hold of her and gets her the hell out of there. So the very next scene is where we're getting the things where it's like, well, she needs better protection than this. They must have somebody on the inside, and they're like, that's a hell of an accusation. Where's your proof for that? He's like, working on it. Or he's like, I don't have it yet. Some shit like that.
Yeah.
And so he takes his verbal abuse from his captain and the detective, and he leaves. Has a continued conversation with the detective going down, I guess, an escalator. And he's like, there was 3 people in that room. 2 of them got called away. Why? And he thought, headquarters did it. And he's like, headquarters wouldn't do that. He's like, well, then who? He's like, it's your gig. You figure it out. That type of thing.
Yeah.
Like you didn't want to talk to him anymore about it. But their plan is to basically try to keep her safe at this point. So they're going to sneak her out of there. They're going to drive her away, and find a better place to protect her, I suppose. Meanwhile, the chick cop who's with the cult people gets assigned to their case. So I didn't want to leave that part out.
Yeah.
So
she conveniently gets assigned to the same case.
Yeah, so she's playing both sides. She's tipping off the cult. She's tipping off, everybody, and like getting herself put in place where that she can continue to feed information to the cult so that they can swoop in and kill her. So it's like they kind of thought that through a little bit. That was the only way that this would really work, is if there was somebody on the inside who who knew all their moves. But I don't know if just overall, I didn't really care for the storyline or the writing here. But the
writing in the whole movie is pretty much fucking.
Yeah. So we said he's protecting the model now. They go to leave, and immediately they get ambushed. Like Gonzalez is in a car by himself. He gets hit by a truck. They did it on purpose to take his car out. So his radiator blows. He's sitting there unable to drive anywhere. Not like that freaking van that's built like a tank. And next thing you know, they're on the road, pursuing Cobra and the model chick. And it's like they kind of go on like a high-speed chase. The guys, there's 2 cars. But the guys in the truck like start taking pot shots at him, from behind. Hits his awesome 50 a couple of times, and he gets pissed about it. And he I don't know what the hell he does there. I don't know if it's like an e-brake turn or something. He whips his car, 180 degrees, starts going backwards without losing any speed. Next thing you know, Yeah. Next thing you know, there's a submachine gun in his hand that we didn't know he had before, and he's just like blasting the front of the truck until that thing's out of commission. Flips his car back around another 180 degrees, and now he's after the guys in the other car.
And what makes me laugh is the two cars chasing him. One was like a pickup with like a little cabin cab on the back. There were two crappy cars chasing him. He hit fucking nitrous in the car. Like you should be gone. There's no way those cars should be on your tail. Like,
right. Yeah. Why did he wait for the nitrous? You know, he waited to use the nitrous until he was trying to catch up to the other car.
Yeah.
And, like the decisions in this didn't make a lot of sense. So his car gets all banged up. Ultimately, he wrecks it, flips it in like this boatyard area. And they're lucky they didn't die, but his awesome 50 totaled. Like you saw the front wheels on that, they're like all touching each other almost underneath the car, and I'm like,
Bridget Nielsen came out without a scratch.
Somehow we get yet another police station scene with atrocious dialogue where he's taking shit over what just happened. And you know, it's always Cobra, his partner, the captain, the detective that hates him. You know, this time the detective pissed off Cobra to the point where Cobra just grabbed him, you know, like he's going to manhandle him or beat the shit out of him. You know, they break it up and they send him out of there. But, you know, he's got this idea now that he's just going to take her out of town. They're going to hit the hills. They're going to make some distance between there and the city, and protect her like on the road, like she's in a witness protection program. You know, this chick who didn't even realize that she witnessed a crime, and like we're supposed to expect that she can identify this guy in a lineup or something. You know what I mean? Whereas we saw the worst police sketch in the world, and she's like, "Oh yeah, that's him." But she's an important key witness. They got to protect her at all costs. So they drive her out of town in a pickup truck and a chase car, you know, with Gonzalez in it.
And that chick again, right? Isn't she?
Yep. She's there.
The bad cop. She's with him again.
That's right. We get more crap dialogue about criminals and the justice system. You know, the model's like, "Oh, why don't they just lock him away?" He's like, "You'll have to ask the judge that." You know, and he's like, "We put him away, they let him out.
We put him away, and they let him out." Exactly.
Yeah. He's like, "Like I said, gonna have to ask the judge." You know, and it's just more. My brain couldn't take anymore. Cobra does not believe in rehabilitation. His solutions are lock him up until they die or just kill him. That's what we know about him.
And then is this when they stop on the road and we find out his name?
Yeah, they stop.
Gonzalez says, "You want to cheer him up? He likes this. Go." And she's like, "What does she say?" She goes, "I found something else about you, Marion Cobretti."
Yeah,
like, Gonzalez got a big mouth.
Yeah. And she's like, "I don't think it's a bad name." And he's like, "Oh, I kind of wanted a tougher one growing up." You know, she's like what? He goes, Alice. That's probably the best joke of the movie.
Yeah.
It's one of the only times where I think I legitimately laughed at something that he said. Because I wasn't expecting it, and that's the whole purpose.
And with the fries.
Oh yeah, they go get something to eat.
You better get a life preserver. She's like, "Why? Your fries are drowning."
Yeah. And she did saturate those fries, man. I mean, I don't know how you eat fries, but I can tell you, ketchup is not my top ingredient to put on anything. I
like ketchup, but moderation.
Yeah. You know, I'll do ketchup maybe on an onion ring or something, but usually I want something a little better than that. I like fries with nothing on them sometimes.
I like ketchup on my fries, but that was ridiculous.
Yeah, that was over the top. Yeah. Is that your favorite way to have fries? with ketchup?
I would say, yeah.
Because I could tell you that going to the drive-in theater, one of the things that I really picked up was, now I know you probably hate this, but the boardwalk fry thing where you spritz a little bit of vinegar on it. I don't douse the shit. You know what I mean? I'm not putting like a cup and a half of vinegar on my fries, just a little bit for the flavor. And
I do like the vinegar on the fries.
Yeah, New Orleans seasoning.
Really?
Those two things, yeah, those two things together. That's a good fry. That's a good fry right there.
I like honey mustard on my fries.
Oh, that sounds good. Yeah, yeah.
Usually, sometimes if I go to McDonald's and I have the cups of honey mustard, I'll dip them in that.
Yeah, no mayonnaise.
But I do like the vinegar.
You don't go for mayonnaise?
No, that's just... I feel about mayo.
I know how you feel about mayo.
Oh, that's...
Yeah. So I actually kind of... they got a hotel. I actually kind of didn't know why the cop woman was here. It's like I realized she was assigned to the case, and they established that earlier. So like that's the excuse.
And like in real life, in reality,
yeah,
they wouldn't have let Cobra sleep in the room with. They would probably put the female cop with her.
Yeah,
and Cobra and Gonzalez would be in a room. But of course,
yeah, right, right, yeah. This is a macho bullshit movie, so we have to set it up to where the alpha male star of the movie, is in the room with the chick,
he's
doing
cleaning all his guns and getting his machine gun ready.
Yeah,
and she's like, will you come into bed with me? Like it was just so like,
yeah. He's like, sure, why not? Like it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Oh God. But like, here's the part where I was like, how fucking dumb is Cobra? You know what I mean? Because it's like, one, he let the cop woman tag along, but twice, since they left town, he saw her on a payphone, and he's like, but he didn't think that anything was suspicious about it until it happened at the hotel. And he's like,
everything that's happened, she's been involved in. Like, you haven't even questioned, like, well, maybe this chick's, she's been around.
And he already almost immediately thought that there was somebody on the inside, like somebody in the police force helping them out. And it takes to this point for him to be like, oh, maybe it's her. But he dismisses it even then and goes to his room and basically, bangs the witness and goes to bed.
Yeah.
So that was one of those things where it's like, damn. It's like they make him up to be like this really good cop, and he does whatever it takes to get the job done. And he really seems to understand, well, the only way this would work is if they had somebody on the inside. And then he's really stupid to come to the realization
totally
as to who it is. And I'm like,
he's totally clueless when it comes to this chick.
Yeah, it should have clicked right then, and he should have got them all, them the hell out of there. But he didn't do that. He just waited for the ambush, which is basically what happens. He sits up with his guns, like he knows it's coming. Wait till morning. They go outside, and he tells Gonzalez, oh, go get her, find out why she's not out here yet, and he goes and he's like, oh, she ain't in there, she's gone, and suddenly now they realize,
he's like, I knew it.
Yeah, I knew it. And
no,
then
you didn't.
Yeah, they see her talking to some of the cult guys in a truck, and Gonzalez is like, I never liked her anyway. And he goes, me neither. And he's like, get inside,
Yeah.
And Motel gets all shot up, he starts shooting people, Gonzalez gets shot in the leg, which is fine because his character is all but unnecessary anyway.
Yeah,
they wrote him that way, and we need to have a final showdown where he's not there, I guess.
He would, yeah, exactly. He would only be in the way.
Yeah, so they take him out with that method, that he's just crawling on the ground with his shot up leg, and they take off in the truck.
Which is the
he's-
most this is the most ridiculous scene probably any. It's like she's driving all over the road. She's driving, she's swerving, and he's just literally standing in the back of his pickup truck, like not holding on to anything. It's like, like his feet were like locked into something, and he wasn't even swaying. He was just like perfectly shooting.
Yeah. They had him strapped to a pole that was sticking up out of the bed of the truck or something.
I was like, no way. I was like, even for an action movie, I was like,
yeah. It's oh my God, that was so bad. He did lob a grenade at one point, so we know he has grenades. We don't know how many, but we know he's got them. So he's got the grenades, he's got the submachine gun, he's got his Cobra 45, so they're taking out all these people on the motorcycles, and it's really narrowed down to just a handful of them. She like skids the truck to a halt, and I don't know what's wrong with the truck. He gets thrown out of the bed. He gets up and basically just says, "Come on, let's go." Like,
they didn't
into the foundry. Like they could have hopped back in the truck and took off again.
It was like nothing happened. She just skidded and stopped.
Yeah. It's not like it got stuck. It's not like they wrecked it into something. He's like, let's go. We run off through an orange grove. This is where I got confused. Remember how we said, it felt like Miami before. It's like, well, now we got oranges. I'm like, why not?
This movie screams Florida.
Yeah. I guess they grow oranges both places. They must grow them in California as well as Florida. I just think of Florida whenever I think of oranges. But it's like, why the fuck was there a foundry in the middle of a freaking orange grove? But there was. And that's where they went into now to draw in what's left of the Night Slashers cult people. Yeah, he sets a grenade up for a couple of them. They walk into an area and he like uses his laser and he shoots the grenade and blows them up, which I don't think that works that way, but for the purposes of this movie, it does. He set up his gun to keep the laser on in an area. This other dude goes over to check it out, and then he goes over and he fucking kills him somehow. Takes his gun back.
And he shoots the chick too, the bad cop, right?
Not yet, I don't think. Actually, I think she gets shot by the Night Slasher guy. Because she like jumps onto his back at one point.
Yes.
But we had another really shitty line. There's one dude down below. They start trading fire back and forth, and like this barrel gets kicked over, and the dude gets covered in fuel. And this is, I swear, this is the whole reason why he had the matchstick in his mouth the entire freaking movie, is so he could pull the matchstick out and like light it off the grip of his 45 and say, "You have the right to remain silent," and drops the match on the guy to catch him on fire. I'm like, it's like there's bullshit line after bullshit line in this movie.
And just the fact that through all this gunfight and in the truck getting thrown out, like you've had this match in your mouth
the entire time. Yeah. Like, you got thrown out of a truck, didn't lose the match. I mean, it's yelling at people. It doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's just there. And it seemed like it was the same one throughout the entire movie. All he did was like take it out occasionally and put it right back in. It was always there. I wonder if
he refreshed his match every day. Like what?
You'd think he would have to. like the wood on that would get so wet that it would fall apart. Yeah. He must have had like an entire box of matches like in his car or something. And
exactly.
Like,
I mean,
just
even for sanitary reasons. I mean, it's a match. Throw it, lose it.
Yeah.
Use a new one.
Yeah, he didn't even use it on his grill. He just threw newspapers in that thing.
Yeah.
So, so it's basically down to him and the Night Stalker. I forget what happened to the cop woman at this point. but she wasn't around. And we get that really stupid ass dialogue where
Pig.
Yeah, he called him pig about 6 times, you know, as he gave this
right
really
pig.
yeah, gave this really shitty monologue about like come out, you know, take me in if you
gotta
can.
take me in.
Yeah, he's like the courts are civilized, you know. He's like they'll say I'm insane, you know. He's
This
like
is where the law stops and I start.
That's right. He's like the court is civilized, isn't it, pig? And he's like, but I'm not. This is where the law stops and I start, sucker. he goes to shoot him. Yeah, he goes to shoot him. This is where the crooked cop woman jumps on his back, you know, and she like puts a chain around his throat, and like he like swings her just as at the moment that the night slasher dude fires his double barrel shotgun.
Yeah, right.
And shoots her instead. So now I don't know why he didn't take a second shot at Cobra, because he had 2 barrels. But instead they face off. He's got knife in one hand, shotgun in the other, doing nothing with it. Yeah. And all Cobra has is a freaking chain. So of course you have to have him whip the shotgun and pull it away. So shotgun's no longer useful. But they go through this stupid fight, and you keep seeing like a hook fly by once in a while.
It's like you knew.
I'm like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here.
Exactly, you know exactly what's gonna happen. The hook might as well had a sign on it that says "Place criminal here."
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what happened. You know, somehow he still had his 45 because he started beating him in the face with it. Like they're hand-to-hand combat here. And they're like beating the shit out of each other and trying not to get stabbed or slashed. You know, next thing you know, he pulls out his pistol, starts hitting him in the face with it. You know what I mean? Then picks him up and throws him up on one of these hooks. And he played that really well. He's like, ah!
Yeah, he's
you know. Yeah.
And just watch him go into the friggin'
right into the furnace. Yeah, he went into the furnace to get burned up. I'm like, oh my God. So, and that's kind of where that stopped. You know, he linked back up with the witness. They go back to the crime scene at the motel. You know, the rest of the cops are there. Ambulance crew is there. It's one big old crime scene. You know, he has a conversation with his partner, you know, in the, before he goes into the ambulance, you know, and he's like, oh, let me know if there's anything I can get you. He's like, there is. He's like, what's that? He's like, I'd kill for some. He's like, what? Gummy bears.
Gummy bears.
I'm like, oh my God.
Like gummy bears. Yeah, gummy bears.
Yeah,
like, all right.
Gummy bears. Yeah, so we get one more bad line out of that. The Captain Sears telling Cobra what a great job he did, you know, and you know, let us know if you want to come out of the zombie squad, you know, let us know if there's anything the department can do for it. And he's like, I'd like to get my car replaced. He's like, we'd love to. It's not in the budget. He just walks away.
Like, fuck you. Fuck you in your car.
Yeah, because fuck your car, you know? Yeah, and
then we have Monty again.
Monty, the inspector.
Nice job, Cobetti. Because I would have done it, and I would have handled it another way. But...
yeah, I would have found a more subtle solution, but that's not your style, is it? He's like, no hard feelings. And he's like, all right. He shook his hand, but then he like hauled back and like punched him, just like wailed him in the head. And he like grabbed him and he's like, no hard feelings.
No hard feelings.
Pal.
I didn't even get, yeah.
My favorite line in the world. Yeah. Call me pal. It's just like calling me an asshole.
But that's where it meant exactly how it was supposed to sound, you know?
Exactly. So, you know, it's like, this is, he walks over to the witness again, and they hop on one of the motorcycles.
Yeah,
where did the motorcycle come from?
The cop tells him, Cobra, I'll give you a ride back. He goes, I got a ride. Don't like,
yeah.
The most cliched ending, gets the girl on the back. And then they got this most upbeat friggin' music fucking driving on the road.
And like, And where did the motorcycle come from? Was that one of the cult people's
It
motorcycles?
had to be one of the cult peoples that he just found.
I'm like, that's evidence at a crime scene. They're just riding away
like,
on them. Yeah, he clearly doesn't give a shit. He doesn't it destroys property, uses excessive force, police brutality, he assaults fellow officers, and he drives away on evidence from a crime scene. It's it's something else. So that is Cobra in a nutshell, man. And I don't know if you want to give me any stats on it, if you got any follow-up shit.
And that's the thing, how we dumped on the writing in this movie the whole time. It lists the writers as Paula Gosling and Sylvester Stallone. And Paula Gosling, I looked her up, like, she's written nothing. She did another thing called Fair Game, which apparently this movie was based on. It's kind of like, I guess, the same plot.
Oh, so they just did a rewrite with Sylvester Stallone.
So I think she probably had very little experience in this type of genre and stuff, and that's why it's like such an over the top cop movie. Like, she went for every trope she can get.
Well, I mean, I knew Sylvester Stallone was a writer because I mean, didn't he write Rocky? I mean, I believe and he's written other stuff. So I guess they must have given her credit on it because they took her original script and he must have changed it.
Yeah,
I mean, if they're giving them both credit, that and the way you describe it, that's what makes sense to me. But I don't know if that's a fact.
Right. As far as stats, it was it was directed by George Cosmatos, who did Rambo Part 2, Leviathan, and Tombstone.
Oh, he did Leviathan and Tombstone. Yeah. Wow. He's done some good stuff.
All movies I like. The budget for this was $25 million. It made box office was $160 million.
Holy crap. It was a big success.
Because that's really shitheads like me that were fucking all into this shit.
Probably went to see it 3 or 4 times, didn't you?
Oh,
then all the rentals, holy crap, man. That's pretty impressive for a movie that's, in a lot of ways forgotten from the 80s action time frame. You know what I mean? It's like, this isn't one that immediately comes to mind as one of the favorites. So like it kind of like fades into the background for like other action stars, like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Chuck Norris, or for that matter, even Jean-Claude Van Damme. You know what I mean? It's like this one really didn't stand the test of time, I'll say. But it sounds to me like it was super successful when it first came out.
Well, I get it. You get it more as, I feel it's more of a cop movie, it's an action movie, but not an action movie on the level of like the Van Damme movies at the time. And
right,
this is more of your Dirty Harry cop movie.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
yeah, this is one of those things one of those movies that screamed Dirty Harry ripoff to me.
Oh, big time.
With the exception of like the quirkiness of his clothes. I don't know who the hell did the costuming in this movie, but he was dressed really weird.
Yeah.
Like jeans,
his little denim jacket,
skin tight shirts, and then he's wearing like some full length, like felt or looking,
like a duster type coat. Jacket. Yeah.
Yeah. And like having the weird looking sunglasses and the matchstick in his mouth the whole time. I'm like, what are they going for here? Oh, and the leather gloves. You can't forget the leather gloves.
Yeah, those,
because every tough guy hero has those, right? I didn't get where they were going with all the costuming choices in this, and I just felt like his character was weird. It didn't scream cool to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and there's not a lot of trivia to this movie. One of the interesting things was apparently the murders, the killing scenes were a lot gruesomer, and to avoid, they had to be dialed back and edited big time to avoid an X rating.
I
at the
gotcha.
time.
I gotcha. So the ratings board wouldn't let it through, so they had to trim a lot of that out. Well,
and I didn't know
that begs the question: is there an unrated version out there somewhere?
I said I wonder. I would love to see it if there is.
All right.
And I didn't even know this. Sylvester Stallone was set to appear in Beverly Hills Cop. Yeah, Beverly Hills Cop in '84. I guess before Eddie Murphy.
Like he was supposed to get the lead role?
That's what I'm getting out of this. I printed it right off the net. And he didn't do it. And that's why he backed out of that to work on this movie.
Oh, really?
I guess because this was sort of his own project.
Okay. Oh, yeah. And he probably had more control over this.
And they just said, out of coincidence, Bridget Nielsen would go on to play a villain in Beverly Hills Cop 2 in 1987.
Ha! That's funny. Can you imagine that? Sylvester Stallone as Axel Foley? Like, I totally cannot. I cannot imagine that at all. Like, I can't imagine anybody other than Eddie Murphy doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like,
I wonder.
That would be weird.
I wonder if that's the part he was supposed to play. But, like, well, no wonder he's stuck with this, because clearly he had more control over this. Like, if he was a writer,
that's what I said. This was probably his own pet, his own
pet project
thing. So he wanted to devote everything to this.
Yeah, he was.
He probably had a lot more freedom.
Yeah, he was a writer. He was the star of it. He probably got to make all sorts of decisions on this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't blame him for that. And it was a box office success.
It was.
Go figure.
And my last bit of useless trivia is, this is kind of fucked up. Brian Thompson was never invited to the premiere.
Really?
And to this day, does not know why. That he's inquired. He said that he inquired as to why not, and has never gotten an answer.
Wow.
But like, they just totally did not invite him to the premiere or anything when this came out.
Sounds to me like
somebody off somewhere.
Sounds to me like Sly didn't like him. You know what I mean?
I would I would say so.
Maybe Sylvester didn't like working with him. You know what I mean?
Very, very possible.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, don't bring him. I'm the star of this. I want everybody talking to me. He doesn't need to get that press. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's fucked up. That is fucked up.
He's the disease. I'm the cure.
Yeah. Yeah, that was probably the reason. He probably didn't want to share the event with him, because technically
something had to go on between the two, like that.
Yeah.
And Stallone probably just pulled rank and said, no, he's done.
It's like, don't send him an invitation. He probably, Wow.
Right?
That's a dick move.
How fucked up is that?
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Oh man, I'm telling you. I don't know, man. Are you ready? You want to put a number on this thing?
All right. I'll give it kind of 2 ratings, because my realistic, as an adult looking at this, watching this, I'll give it like a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
I mean, it's a Stallone movie. It has its entertainment. It's ridiculous. But like you said, the nostalgia, I love this when it came out. The nostalgia value would probably bring it up to at least like a 7.5.
Okay.
7.5, near 8 out of 10, because like I said, the 15-year-old me would loved as bad as this was, I loved every stupid line. I loved everything that we basically said was ridiculous. I walked out of that theater loving every minute of it.
All right.
So when I watch it, I still get a little of that.
Yeah.
And then again, when I watch these movies, I'm looking for an action movie. I'm looking for ridiculousness. I'm not looking for reality. So
yeah.
You know,
Okay.
so
I'm with you. I'm with you. Well, in light of that, maybe I'll give it 2 ratings as well, because when I look at this critically, you know, with the way that I review these movies, it didn't do so hot. I logically this didn't work for me. There were several things that bothered me about it. I mean, I gave it points for being interesting. You know, they had some good scene choices. Some of the visuals were pretty awesome. You know what I mean? It was edited pretty well. I mean, it was a competent movie. Had some pretty good pacing. The actors were exactly what you would expect them to be.
what you thought they would be.
Even though some of them seem kind of cliche and like just like, you know, canned characters for a cop movie.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But they delivered it well. Like they delivered it
Yeah.
exactly how you think they were going to deliver it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I don't blame it on the acting. I blame it on how they were written.
Right. And they didn't break any new ground with the script here, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It had good sets and props. The sound effects were all right. I feel like the soundtrack was still out of place. I know you loved it and you bought it on vinyl and it's amazing and you probably still play it. But it like something would happen and one of these songs would come on and be like, why are they playing this song? Like it totally doesn't fit. And but they had some good effects. You know, I'm gonna call it a memorable movie. Even though I probably wouldn't recommend it to anybody, and it's gonna be a while till I watch it again. I gave it a 13 out of 30 or 43% or a 4.3 out of 10. But you know what? You know, the fact that I was able to sit there and turn my brain off and just enjoy what was happening on screen, I'm gonna bump my score up to a 5.5.
All right. That's fair.
All right. So anyhow, if you haven't seen Cobra yet, shame on you. You missed out. And you should totally make some time for it. And if you got to this point in the show and you haven't seen the movie and you're thinking about it now, well, shame on you because we just spoiled the shit out of it. So anyhow, we say check it out. It's definitely worth a one-time watch. And I say on behalf of myself and on behalf of Evil Mike, I say, remember.
Smile, you son of a...